This video will be part 2 of the Fae Update 8.8 new refines. This time we're talking about Dual Summer, female Byleth and Rhea, Mythic Ullr, and Legendary Claude. Ullr and Claude also have remixes, which we'll talk about as well. We'll go over all the new skills, plus discuss some build ideas. The season refine for this batch goes to Dual Summer, female Byleth and Rhea. I can't just say Dual Byleth anymore since we have the Winter Professors, but for this video, you know who we're talking about. This Dual Byleth is a flying red mage and a definition of a glass cannon. This refine wants to test that claim, and I'm not exactly sure that's a good idea. Now, Sun's Percussor is a 14 might slaying toe. For allies within 2 spaces, Byleth gives them plus 4 attack and speed, and 50% DR piercing on all attacks. At start of combat, if Byleth is within 5 speed of the enemy, or the enemy has more than 75% HP, she gets plus 5 attack and speed, and plus 4 defense and res. Byleth has her signature, no follow-up, and gets no guard as well. She also has 50% DR piercing on all attacks. First off, whichever dev keeps doing the plus 5 attack and speed, plus 4 defense and res, why? 1 defense and res is not really going to make or break this unit. Besides that, Byleth has brought over some of her Sword the Creator effects, half a tempo and half DR piercing. For the activation conditions, the speed check and HP check have both been made easier to meet. As for the support portion, a half DR piercing effect is very good. The Professor is handing out some valuable lessons for sure. For the refine, if the unit initiates or is within 3 spaces of an ally, grant bonus stats equal to 4 plus the number of allies within 3 spaces of unit times 2. You need 3 allies for a max plus 10 to all stats. In addition, Byleth gets true damage equal to 15% speed. When initiating only, Byleth will get 50% DR for first attacks with an S. If the foe has an offensive special, you also inflict plus 1 cooldown on the foe before their first attack. Dual Byleth will need to be close to allies, but can get up to plus 10 to all stats. Interestingly, we then have defensive perks with 50% damage reduction and Scowl. Despite plus 14 defense and res, I'm not sure the 16 base defense unit is going to survive a counter even with 50% damage reduction. Byleth will give herself a chance though by scowling the enemy. Ideally, this means she only gets hit by a basic attack. Typically, this Byleth could also run Wind or Water Sweep to deny counterattacks or use her dual skill, which grants Desperation. With no follow-up, as long as she outspeeds, Byleth attacks twice and hopefully the enemy's dead. Those 2 methods have counters with Nosy Disrupt and Hardy Bearing. If those are common threats, then you have to take a hit, thus the new 50% damage reduction. With this refine, you still have the Desperation and Wind or Water Sweep playstyles. Byleth can even use Desperation 4 as well. She got a lot of new firepower, mainly thanks to the half DR piercing. With no guard, Byleth can also charge and unleash Ruptured Sky on back-to-back hits. If you think getting hit is inevitable though, you could try to stack % DR. Remote Sparrow plus the refine is 65% DR. Not bad, but is that enough when Byleth's base defenses are so low? You technically could add a % DR B skill and Fleeting Echo, but I'm not sure it's worth it. I think most are already running the Flared Strike combo, and Occultist Strike's true damage will stack with the refine. For some extra protection, Deadly Miasma inflicts -5 stats with low on the enemy, just any extra help to survive a counter. Now, with no guard, Byleth can also charge Luna if she gets hit back. Assuming she doubles, Luna can proc on the follow-up. Now, for a more high-risk, high-reward setup, Byleth could run Resonance. Its DR piercing stacks with the refine, but the recoil damage part doesn't really help with Byleth's % DR efforts. If you can get 50% pierce from Resonance, then Byleth would have 75% DR piercing total. With Flared Sparrow, you can just try to go for a pure one-shot approach. If you want to get weird, technically you could use Resonance with Fury 4's recoil damage to self-proc Desperation 3. At 50 HP, both skills would inflict 14 recoil damage. That's going to fall just under 75% HP after one fight. Funny, but only useful if you want Byleth to Desperation double in later fights, and if you can't use her dual skill. Let's now talk about some other skills. If you want Resonance, the new Harmonic Nephany will have it, and at the same time you can get the brand new Attack and Speed Mastery. This grants Kanto 2 after fighting, so instead of Far Trace in the B slot or X slot, it can come from the A slot. Another option is Verge of Death, but that also directly goes against the new % DR plus Scowl in the refine. If you can get Far Trace Kanto, then Byleth could set up Guidance Warping plays easier. With her new 50% damage reduction Pierce buff, I do think Guidance is a great option here. Oath 4 or Flyer Mobility skills can also give Byleth Warping herself. Overall, this refine adds a couple new dimensions, but I'm not totally sold on the damage reduction for taking hits. However, this refine is way better than what most glass cannon mages can put together. If you can buff up Byleth's defenses further, maybe with a certain Archbishop's right-hand man, then there's more leeway to take some hits. All in all, I would still be careful of getting hit, but still a good refine. Our next refine goes to Mythic Ullr. She's a blue infantry archer and a pure combat-focused light mythic. There's no added support effects with this update, so let's see how much firepower Ullr can get without those extra blessing stats. Starting with her weapon, Holy Yewfelle, this 14-light bow only added one new base effect. It has accelerated specials, and if initiating or the foe has more than 75% HP, Ullr gets plus 6 attack and speed, neutralizes attack and speed debuffs, she gets no guard, and she now disables all skills from foes besides the main target in combat. Ullr getting feud is very nice, considering we've been talking about a couple support refines this month. If Ullr's target wants help, it has to be through status effects. For the refine, if Ullr has more than 25% HP, she gets another plus 5 attack and speed, and bonus attack and speed equal to 15% of her speed from start of combat. She neutralizes the foe's speed and defense field buffs, and gets 50% DR pierced on every attack. Generally speaking, pretty straightforward stuff. Ullr can get around 15 to 20 extra attack and speed while neutralizing debuffs affecting her and buffs on the enemy. Sling plus no guard is great, and half DR piercing needs no explanation. You then have feud to deny any drive type buffs. Ullr is going for the pure 1v1. Now let's talk about her remixed Yngvi's Ascendant Plus. This beast inflicts -5 speed and defense on the foe. Ullr gets full of follow-up effects. If decreasing the speed difference to make it follow-up by 10 would allow Ullr to trigger a follow-up, then she now gets a potent follow 100%. Last, Ullr has Desperation at any HP level. From before, this skill's offense in the follow-up has been upgraded to the full deal. Like Byleth, Ullr wants to outspeed to guarantee doubles with Desperation, plus no follow-up. Now, to empower her damage, Ullr gets a potent follow-up attack, except like Emblem, this one deals 100% damage. The speed roll change is only 10, so not too much. This means Ullr only gets this potent hit if she's within 5 speed of the enemy. Ideally though, she wants to outspeed normally by 5 or more. This would allow Ullr to use Desperation for 2 immediate shots. Since potent follow-ups occur after regular follow-ups, Ullr will shoot a third arrow. If she's not faster than the foe but gets the potent follow-up attack, then Ullr can still shoot 2 arrows. If it wasn't clear, Ullr is still a pure combat mythic. For her free remix skill, Ullr's going to get attack and speed Oath 4. Previously, she had used Time's Pulse to proc Deadeye in 2 hits. With the extra potent attack though, Ullr's plan has changed. If she outspeeds normally, Ullr fires 3 back-to-back-to-back shots all at full damage. With Sling plus no guard, her first 2 shots charge Deadeye guaranteed. The potent attack now procs it. That's basically the entire game plan. Now, since Deadeye is at max cooldown, this setup is immune to regular Scowl. You would need Fallen Veil's follow-up Scowl to mess things up. With Oath 4, Ullr just adds more attack and speed buffs and warping to get into attack range. She has Life and Death 4 naturally, and this is mainly just to try and soak the Bright Shrine in Aether Raids. The refine now makes it so flat speed grants more stats though, so it is useful. If possible, upgrade to Verge of Death to just cleanse the debuffs entirely. For some other skills, you could try a double special setup. This would require Time's Pulse or Pulse of Blades or some cooldown support ally. If a 2 cooldown special is pre-charged, Ullr can recharge it on her second shot, then proc it again on shot number 3. With the half DR piercing, you don't have to run Deadeye if you think something else deals higher damage. With this setup, Finish 4 adds 5 true damage for all 3 arrows. If you can get cooldown from say Flashing Blade, then Ullr could do this setup with a 3 cooldown special. Obviously, regular Time's Pulse won't work for that. If you do have something like Pulse Up, maybe an AoE special could work. AoE proc into the 3 arrows does sound pretty fun. For the most part, Mythic Ullr got a solid refine and remix. It's a rare 100% potent follow-up for 3 full damage hits. Half DR Pierce is amazing. Now, the issue is that Ullr has 0 defensive capabilities. Compared to our last refine, Ullr has no plan B if the enemy has Hardy Bearing, which counters Desperation and thus her entire setup. Byleth at least could run a sweet Beastgo and her refine added 50% DR and Scowl for some kind of backup plan. Ullr has nothing. If you run Life and Death, that's even more of a death sentence if touched, and basically if you're going to use Mythic Ullr, you 100% have to avoid Hardy Bearing enemies. Our last refine for this month is for Legendary Claude, Kala's flying archer whose main claim to fame comes from Fallen Star's crazy 80% damage reduction. Let's start with Fallen Star 2. Completely new to the skill, if Claude initiates or Deep Star is active, inflict -5 speed and defense on the foe, Claude deals true damage equal to X times 5, and Claude reduces damage taken from first attacks, with an S, by X times 3. X is the number of active positive statuses on Claude, plus the number of active negative statuses on the foe. For For the second part of the skill, this is base Fallen Star updated. When initiating, Claude reduces damage by 80% for first attacks with an S, and after combat he gains Deep Star while inflicting gravity on foes within one space of the target. First off, Deep Star is from Windtribe Claude. The only difference is that Deep Star gives 80% DR against the first 2 Brave attacks as well. For the entire new portion of Fallen Star 2, Claude is once again relying on status effects. It counts positive statuses on Claude and negative statuses on the foe. If you have a total of 5 of those, then Claude can deal a max 25 true damage per hit. He will also get a max 15 flat damage reduction. When you have 80% damage reduction, you don't need a lot of flat DR to actually take no damage. Obviously though, Claude's still going to be open to DR piercing attacks, same as before. He also needs to initiate to gain Deep Star for enemy phase, so reaching him first is still a good idea. Let's move on to the Failnaught Refine. This 14 Might Slaying Bow still grants plus 5 to all stats and no follow-up if Claude is above 25% HP. New base effect is that every turn, Claude inflicts -7 speed and defense debuffs, the guard status, and the sabotage status on closest foes and anyone within 2 spaces. So, to utilize the new Fallen Star 2, Claude needs statuses. This Refine inflicts 2 penalties on the foe. After initiating, he'll get Deep Star, but Claude still needs extra help to fully utilize his new B skill. Similar to Calyx Refine, Claude doubles up on debuffs with Sabotage. Assuming his debuffs land, he inflicts already -19 speed and defense between Refine and Remix. If you want to survive against DR Piercing, absolutely try to inflict attack debuffs somehow. For the actual Refine portion, Claude gets Kanto 1 and inflicts -5 speed and defense on foes within 3 rows or 3 columns. If above 25% HP, Claude gets plus for stats, no guard, and half DR Piercing. Pretty straightforward. The newer Claudes got Kanto to abuse with Fallen Star's AoE Gravity. Even if you survive, Claude can hit and run out of range. In his base kit, Claude has Speed and Defense Rain. They gave him a new C skill, so they actually put the entire Rain debuff into the Refine and upgraded it to the Crux range. Add that to his other debuffs for a total of -24 Speed and Defense potentially. On top of this, Claude gets more stats, no guard, and even he recognizes how annoying percent DR is, so he also can partially pierce those effects. Like our last 2 units, Claude ideally wants to outspeed, so he doubles. He accepts he's gonna get hit, so Claude has his massive 80% DR and now adds flat damage reduction on top. In addition, Claude can inflict Sabotage, and if he did get attack debuffs, then that's just another layer of protection. Offensively, this guy has no guard to get to his special, and just a boatload of speed and defense debuffs. A lot of these can affect his team as well. He does have guard to try and prevent special counters, but it ain't the same as Byleth's Scowl effect. If you can stack statuses on Claude or the enemy, he also can get up to 25 true damage. Generally speaking, Legendary Claude still plays the same, although he now has support aspects throughout the on-field and in-combat debuffs. To add to his free remix skill, he has Guidance 4. With his new Kanto, Claude has potentially more positioning options, and that can chain into a Guidance Warp for your team. You can actually run Speed and Defense Crux to stack with the weapon, but Guidance or Soaring Echo are just so deadly. Like before, Claude must initiate to do anything special. On the enemy phase, he gets no 80% DR unless he attacked the turn before, so Deep Star is active. With that said, while you can run mixed phase stat boosters like his innate attack and speed catch, you could also go all in with something like Flared Sparrow. While instant damage is taking a hit, Claude is just so annoying if you can't KO him. His AoE Gravity can lock multiple units down, and Claude now has Kanto to retreat further. With Flared Sparrow's Flame Line, that's just further protection for Claude's retreat. In a similar idea, you can also run Deadly Miasma. The -5 stats and low effect give safer initiations, and after combat, the gravity lockdown is now on top the Miasma field. Like his Wind Tribal, you can also use Prime 4 for close counter. Legendary Claude now also wants a lot of statuses, and for Prime, you're going to need 3 more besides Deep Star. You could run Attack and Speed Oath 4, like the Wind Tribal, but generally, you just need more allies to provide those statuses. With the new Fallen Star 2, Claude can amass a large amount of true damage and flat DR, so having buffing allies is ideal. For some other skills, Oath 4's Self-Warping is pretty good if you don't need guidance. Panic Smoke synergizes with Sabotage. You technically can use the new Mastery A skill for Kanto 2. It's a mixed phase stat booster as well, and grants extra stats if Divine Veins are nearby. For Sacred Seals, you could stack another Speed and Defense Rain. Tech and Speed Catch 3 or other mixed phase skills work best for enemy phasing with Deep Star active. You could also run Desperation if you want for later fights, just in case 80% damage reduction isn't safe enough for later. Overall, Legendary Claude got some nice upgrades, decent support for a speedy or physical damage team, and Sabotage is great since it bars off nearby enemies as well. For his own combat, Fallen/Deep Star hasn't changed, but Claude now wants statuses on the field. No Guard and Half Deer Piercing are excellent for damage output, and now this Claude also can abuse Kanto with AoE Gravity. Like before, Deer Piercing still a major counter to Claude, and reaching him first makes him a lot less scary. Still, he's one of the most annoying units to deal with should you fail to KO him after he initiates. That'll be it for part 2 of the Update 8.8 New Refines. These 3 units all seem to share similar ideals, although Ullr is going for full offense, but added some defensive measures, and Claude added both offense and defense. While something like Claude's 80% Fallen Star DR is crazy, we've been in a Lagu's Friend trend. That skill is all about retaliating with a big damage Deer Piercing special, which is the main counter to Claude's shenanigans. But Scowl can't stop that from happening. Regardless though, these are all good refines for general use. If you missed part 1, we went over Kellic, Deke, Gatry, and Seteth. I recommend giving Seteth's refine a good look at. That'll be it for this video though. Next up, we'll be covering the new Hoshidan Festival banner. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.